My name is Nick Davies, and I'm the special correspondent of The Guardian newspaper. I came to talk about why it is that news organisations so frequently fail to do the single most important thing they can do, which is to tell the truth. So a lot of people think news organisations put out false stories because all journalists are liars. Well, that's not correct. Or because their proprietors are instructing them to tell lies. Occasionally that happens, but not very often. So I'm arguing that most of the time we fail to tell the truth because the commercial and financial pressures on newsrooms work through in all sorts of different ways and make it likely that journalists will fail to tell the truth. If there's no truth in journalism, there's no journalism. The whole purpose of journalism is to try to uncover the truth. And we can do that. If you give us the time and the resources, if the journalists involved have the skills, then we can go out and sift through the evidence and establish what is true, certainly. I've been a reporter for 35 years, and I would say the ability of reporters to uncover the truth has got less and less. That's primarily because of this commercial environment within which they work. So lots of news organisations have been taken over by big corporations who are really not interested in the quality of the news they produce. They just want it produced cheaply and in a form which allows them to sell advertising or make more money. Same is roughly true in broadcasting. And it's for that reason that it has become more difficult for us to tell the truth. I suppose the story that I was involved in that's had the most impact was the release of the Afghan war logs through Wikileaks in July 2010, where it was me that went out and found Julian Assange, the founder of Wikileaks, and persuaded him that rather than putting all this massive raw material on the Wikileaks website, he should provide it first to The Guardian and the New York Times, and then Spiegel also became involved, so that we could go through it and convert that raw data into meaningful stories and project it. And that had an enormous impact. I mean, that went round the world, and, you know, from the White House down to the lowliest little house, people were responding to it. So that's quite exciting. I'm arguing that journalists generally are not now given the time to do their work properly, which is a big, big problem for them if they're trying to uncover the truth. So I'm looking for other resources which we can pull in to help us. And one example would be NGOs, who are actually quite well resourced if they represent a popular cause. Now, the thing is that if an NGO is going to go out and investigate some issue and produce a report, I think it's fine for us to use that report as the raw material for a story, but we need to be in a position to check the facts. So it wouldn't be enough for the NGO to put out a press release and say, we've uncovered the following things, and we just turn that into a story. They need to produce a report which has photographs, audio tapes, and other forms of evidence, documents, for example, which we can look at so that we can be sure that what we're saying, based on their research, is true. But if that is the case, then it seems to me very useful to go out and create a network of links with NGOs in order to achieve that. So NGOs clearly do have an agenda. They want to highlight particular areas. I think the important thing is that we should hold on to our own news judgments so that we make the right selective judgments about what stories to cover. So the mere fact that Greenpeace or Friends of the Earth come to us with a story doesn't mean we should say yes. We must be independent. We're there for our readers and viewers and listeners. We're not there to serve the interests of other powerful groups. But if it happens that an NGO comes up with a story which does seem to us to be important, and if we can check it and it's true, then I think it's extremely helpful to be able to collaborate with the NGO. The future of journalism is extremely uncertain. It is possible that you're looking at a profession which is going to die because the business model which has sustained it for 100, 150 years is being killed off by the internet, taking away readers and viewers and listeners to free sites, taking away advertising to sites which work better and are cheaper. So we have to find a new way of funding journalism. And there are some small signs of hope, like in the United States there are quite a lot of online news agencies which are not for profit. They're getting funding from foundations or wealthy families. And in a small way that's quite successful. There are examples of NGOs just simply giving money to news organisations in order to get them to fund particular projects. But on the big picture, it really is quite worrying. You know that Rupert Murdoch is setting up these paywalls around his news sites. And we don't really have any statistical information about whether or not they're succeeding. But there are a lot of people in the industry who do not expect that to work, and who think that the number of people who will actually pay to read news, which they can get elsewhere for free, is tiny. I don't think it's bloggers per se, it's the internet which has killed. It's a structural fact that once the readers go off to free news sites and the advertising goes off to other sites, we lose our two sources of income. And then the bloggers themselves, I mean, there's an awful lot of bloggers who are ghastly. There's something about the anonymity of blogging and the possibility, the feeling of power that bloggers have that make them peculiarly aggressive. You get sort of mad stuff going on blogs. And also people just invent facts which suit their argument. And so I think 90% of blogging, you know, is little better than graffiti on a toilet wall, and no kind of substitute for real journalism. I think you have to start off with a real moral urge to try to tell the truth, and not to be stopped by bad management in your organisation or idiotic news editors wanting you to write silly stories, not to be stopped by people in the outside world who want to conceal the truth, and to keep on and on going. So persistence would be part of it. I think you've got to be reasonably intelligent. You've got to be able to take complicated information and break it down and see its basic structure and see what's missing. You need to have extraordinary skills with human beings. I always think the most interesting skills of reporting are to do with persuading people who don't want to talk to us. And the range of that is enormous. I need to persuade the paedophile to talk to me, and also the police officer who caught him, the fascist and the communist, you know, the religious zealot and the atheist. They all have to talk to us, and there are very interesting and rather obscure skills in there.